Good afternoon, everybody. On this Monday, June 30th, 2025, I've got all your stories for your rush hour ride home. We're going to be discussing the Disney cruise where a passenger went overboard. It actually has a happy ending as they have been recovered alive. We'll get into that. And then more on Laura Owens as her father actually shares 100% support for her on his Facebook post, although many people do believe that she wrote that. So we'll have more on what lawyers are saying is going to be the reason that she is going to accept a plea. Will that happen? Doesn't look like it from her end, but she definitely should. And then speaking of Disney, we've got Justin Baldoni getting recognized at Disney. It's the happiest place on earth. He's, of course, enjoying his time, I'm assuming, with his family as he's been all but canceled while his lawsuit plays out. So we'll share that nice moment where he greets fans. And then more on the big, beautiful bill and why Republicans say they are forced to vote for it and say it's good for their constituents. And then other people, the rest of the world, say, what are you talking about? It's just a tax break for the rich. So we'll get into that. And then more on the the mayoral race in New York City, which is very interesting because we've got a lot of accusations being thrown, and this thing's months away from the general election, but it's getting messy. We're here to cover it all. These stories and more. It all starts right now on The Rush. And by the way, I do appreciate all of the kind words that have been coming in from you all regarding my health. I don't have much of an announcement. I do two episodes a day, so not much of an announcement since this morning other than I can hold a cup of coffee with one hand right now. It's extremely exhausting. I don't know what the solution is. A lot of people told me, even though I tested negative for Lyme, it's probably Lyme. Everyone thinks it's something else. But either way, I'm taking it seriously. I'm a little scared, nervous, but also just trying to rest. And I appreciate that you guys have been so kind and helped me figure it out. Thanks. Well, we've got a Disney cruise SOS. Dad jumps ship to save daughter. The ocean rescue is on camera. A dad did what any panicked parent would, dove straight into the Atlantic after his young daughter fell off a Disney cruise ship. The wild rescue played out in real time via passengers' phones. Now, I got to tell you something. Almost nobody survives when you fall off a boat. I mean, when I saw this title, I said, well, they're a goner. Nobody survives this thing. But here we have the news reporting a happy ending.
A rescue caught on camera. Crew is racing to pull a father and daughter from the water after going overboard a cruise ship. Victor Kendo has the latest on that.
Hey, George, good morning. Just terrifying moments on a Disney cruise over the weekend. A passenger telling us that a young girl fell overboard and her dad jumped in right after her. We have video of the rescue. Let's go to that. You can see crew on a small boat, father and daughter still in the water. The Disney Dream was returning to Fort Lauderdale on Sunday after a 4-night Bahamian cruise. Passengers say that an emergency code for man overboard went out over the ship's intercom, and the crew immediately went into rescue mode. A Disney Cruise Line spokesperson saying in part, the crew aboard the Disney Dream swiftly rescued 2 guests from the water and commended crew members for the safe return of both guests within minutes. Will?
Great work by that crew there. Glad everyone is okay. Victor, thank you to you.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy about this is, I don't know what's true and what's not, but people were saying, well, how did the girl even fall overboard? There's these giant fences and walls and whatnot, and maybe the father had the daughter on the wall. I don't know. But hopefully we don't have to report any other stories like that. Knock it off. Stay on the boat, folks, right? Well, you know who's fallen off the ship, the metaphorical ship of civility, would be Laura Owens. She's got the state of California raining all hell down upon her. We shared this morning that there may be an accomplice, which of course we think would be her mother. But other people have said, different things. Could it have been her lawyer, the guy who tried to rough me up? Who knows? I don't think it's the lawyer because, they have the attorney-client privilege. Although maybe, who knows, if she's willing to turn on him, we'll have to see. But we have a post from Laura Owens' father. And again, you can read this and imagine Laura probably wrote it. I'm deeply grateful that the GoFundMe account set up for me last year is still active and continues to provide essential support as I navigate an incredibly challenging period in terms of health and finances. If you'd like to contribute or simply share the link, you can find it below. Unfortunately, some individuals have made defamatory claims suggesting the fund was created to support my daughter Laura and her legal expenses. Those claims are completely false and deeply hurtful. Laura has not received, requested, or accessed any of the GoFundMe contributions, and none of them have been or will be used for her legal matters. Let me make it clear that I stand with Laura 100%, and am disheartened by the online efforts to discredit us both. My deepest thanks to so many of you who've had my back and hers through it all. So folks think this was written by her because, first of all, she accuses people of being defamatory all the time. And then she likes to do that 100%. I'm 100% innocent. I'm 100% telling the truth. He stands with Laura 100%. Not 90%, but 100%. Either way, and the idea that the money's not going to her legal expenses is actually summed up perfectly in the comment section right here. Someone said, maybe the money from the GoFundMe is freeing up other funds to be used for her defense. It's a shell game. And someone said, that's exactly what's happening. My opinion, first of all, Ron has Medicare and supplemental insurance. Very little, if anything, isn't covered. If audited, I think they'd be very hard-pressed to come up with an adequate, accurate number spent on healthcare. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm sure the money from the GoFundMe is going to his healthcare. Like, look, I could raise money from a GoFundMe and put it into my healthcare. That's just going to free up $1,100 premiums a month that I can spend on other things. It doesn't mean the money's not going to one thing. It just means, of course, he's part of his whole family. They're all scam artists, as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it until proven otherwise. I believe they're all scam artists at this point. They're all in on it, and one of them, at the very least, is an accomplice. Now, who could it be? Do I believe Ron Owens typed this out? Not a snowball's chance in hell do I believe that. But either way, it's got his name on it. So either tighten up your passwords or maybe start, being a better parent. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how far does the fruit fall off the tree? That's the question. What does Laura have on her parents that's kept them, from ratting her out? And, I'll read this interesting email that I got. This is from a lawyer friend of ours. The most powerful filing in the case so far, and again, that being this filing right here, that was the state basically saying, we've got all of these aggravating circumstances. By the way, tomorrow I will be interviewing Omar from the Tilted Lawyer to talk about this and other stuff. But here's what our lawyer friend had to say. They just upped the pressure and potential penalties in the criminal case exponentially. Uncle Joe, Andrew, Matt, Mike listed as possible potential witnesses to the California pregnancies, medical records tampering, and impersonating doctors and lawyers. The pattern in prior uncharged acts from the Matt, Mike, and Greg scams was bad enough. But throwing mom and possibly Sarah and possibly someone who procured the HCG for her under the bus as accomplices is savage. It also screams that they have the evidence to refer this to the feds to bring their own charges for the computer crimes and medical mail and wire fraud in California and Arizona unless Laura enters a global settlement. Joe Cotchett especially is not going to throw away his reputation as one of the top trial lawyers in the country for her. And as I said from day one, her fake claim of being in the Barrow domestic violence brain injury program is going to come back to haunt her. If this doesn't get Laura to settle, nothing will. And again, we don't know. I mean, will she settle? Will her mom say, you know what, I'm not going down with you? And will she snitch? Are they going to flip somebody or not? And then again, my friend says, and by settle, because people would say, well, why would they settle? Well, the state doesn't want to have to go to trial if they don't want to. Now, I want the state to go to trial. I want to be a key witness. I've already printed out all the merchandise. Dave Neal, key witness, Fiverr, Daver. I don't know, whatever it's going to say. We'll work on it. And by the way, no, I didn't print out merchandise yet, but I will be selling it outside of a van at the courthouse. That's for dang sure. Can I do that? Who knows? It's America. And by settle, I mean a comprehensive plea deal that may include the feds and a combination of some confinement, treatment, and extended probation. Because this was a shot across the bow that later has enough credible evidence to enhance her sentence and intends to seek that if she's convicted of the felony counts in a trial, which means more mandatory prison time, not jail time. She really needs to take a plea while she can. Yeah, the plea's not going to be available forever, but does she have it in her? Does Laura Owens have it in her to accept a plea deal at this point? She'd have to admit to these charges. It would be great for her to admit to these things versus her, I mean, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Would you guys prefer to her be found guilty by a jury of her peers or for her to admit to them in the first place? I mean, I don't know. I kind of want her to go through the trial process, but we'll have to see. All right. In other Bachelor news, we have a lady responding to the Golden Bachelor. He said he doesn't want to date women over 60. Now he's 66. And, to be quite fair, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want, right? You can decide to date people of any consenting age you want, right? They could be 18 years old. You could be Bill Belichick. Do I think it's weird? Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah, it's daddy issues. It's grandpa issues. It's a whole lot of issues. Sure. Now, the problem here, though, is that his audience is all women, and no one likes to be confined to a number, a stat. Aren't we more than just that? Oh, look at that. I rhymed. Here's a response to the upcoming Golden Bachelor saying he will be cutting women if they're over 60.
If you don't want to date women your age, I just have to wonder why you want to be the Golden Bachelor. Because that's what the Golden Bachelor means. Women are constantly being judged and analyzed and based off of a number, which is something we've been trying to fight now for a long time, and it keeps happening. And this kind of conversation and this kind of attitude toward it is just terrible. That's what we keep perpetuating over and over again. There are incredible women that are 60 and 70 and 80 years old, and putting a number and age on it and saying like, okay, I can date somebody who's 59 because they're okay, but not 60 years old because their 60 marks some like endpoint in a woman's life is absolutely ridiculous. Golden implies wisdom and depth and courage to start again and to not think of age as just a number. That's what Golden's about. That's what.
Yeah, she's right. She's like, look, come on. The idea of the show is about moving past the superficiality. And instead he's like, yeah, but she's got to be 45 to 60, size 4 or below, blue eyes, blonde. Now, he didn't say those other things, but it's like, yeah, this is why the show, you always wonder how come the show doesn't let, these contestants do interviews with certain podcasts. It's because they can't be trusted. And sure enough, they approved this interview and it went sideways. And I'm sure from now on, they'll be listening to every interview. When I interview some of these cast members, they literally want to listen to it. Like when I interviewed Christina and Braden, they wanted to listen to it first. And it's like, come on, guys, what are you doing? But I guess it's for reasons like this. All right, coming up next, I've got Justin Baldoni spotted in Disney. This story coming up. Well, not a big one for you, but a little juicy side of the legal battle going on. Justin Baldoni spotted at Disneyland after suffering legal blow and ongoing battle with Blake Lively. So it's actually a nice little clip here. Let's see if I have it. I'll play it for you, but there isn't much to share. Point of view, and by the way, you might hear my son in the background. We're sharing a rental, folks, and our baby, let him play, you know what I mean? Let him live his life. So he's running around with his noodle hanging out. He's peeing on the floor. Come on, right? We paid for the deposit. Justin Baldoni catches you recording him at Disney World and invites you to take a picture. Now, they zhuzhed it up. It was actually Disneyland, but there he is. He's like walking, and it's like, listen, this is kind of Justin's fault. He's super ripped. He's so good looking, even though he's not wearing anything to stand out. He stands out, and of course, someone spots him, and Justin spots someone taking a video and says, "Hello, how are you?" And then Justin's like, "You want to take a photo? Like, what do you want to do?" And this is the problem with being a celebrity. As soon as one person starts taking a photo, then 50 people see, they all want photos. Next thing you know, your wife's waiting at the food court upset because you're supposed to have family quality time. So the person said, he was such a sweet guy, but I feel bad. Moment we recognized him, everyone started asking for photos. Hey, that's the life, and I'm sure, and it's like multiple things can be true, right? You can be appreciative of it, but this is why celebrities fly private, because you literally can't walk through the airport. Now, I don't know what that's like. When I get recognized, I'm like, you want a photo? They're like, nah, no thanks. Just, it's like, it ain't the same, but that's okay. It's a good sweet spot to be in. All right. We got a really sad story that took place on Sunday. There was an ambush that happened where 2 firefighters were left dead. A brush fire was started, and then when they came to put it out, they were killed. And I think now they have the suspect identified. Real scary stuff. Have a listen.
The Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris telling reporters that firefighters first responded to a report of a brush fire on Sunday afternoon in Canfield Mountain. That's a popular hiking and biking area near the outskirts of town. But once the firefighters arrived, someone began shooting at them. The fire was set apparently to lure the firefighters into that ambush, according to the sheriff. He said, quote, "These firefighters did not have a chance." Authorities responded, locking down the neighborhoods near the hiking area and searching for the shooter in the hilly terrain with thick brush and trees and smoke that were seen nearby. I do want to take us back out to that live picture just to continue to give you a sense of what that terrain looks like there.
All right, so there's really not much visibility there. And I guess they've identified the suspect but haven't arrested him yet. That's the update I have as of right now. If and when it changes, we'll let you know. But I mean, listen, nobody's got beef with firefighters, right? I mean, we all love, they're the bravest people out there. So just real scary stuff. Well, speaking of brave people, I got to tell you, I think it's brave to go and do the right thing, even when people are yelling at you to do something different. And here's Senator Sanders congratulating all of the Republicans who voted against the Big Beautiful Bill. Now, we've been talking about this thing for like months now. The quote unquote Big Beautiful Bill, don't believe it, right? All it does is add trillions of dollars in debt, but that doesn't give us new bridges or a meal program for underprivileged students. No, all the debt is because it takes away the taxes that the ultra wealthy were paying, right? So if you make $4 million, you might pay $60,000 less in taxes. It makes no sense whatsoever, right? But either way, two Republicans have put their foot in the sand and said, I'm not supporting this bill.
All of the Democrats for voting against it. And I want to congratulate two Republicans, Senator Paul and Senator Tillis, for voting against it for different reasons, by the way, than I have. But I do find it interesting, and it does tell us where we are as a nation today, that when one of those senators, Senator Tillis, voted against it because he thought it was not a good bill for the people of his home state, North Carolina, suddenly the President of the United States went after him in a very, very vicious way. And today he announced that he will not be seeking re-election.
And that's the problem, right? Anybody who goes against the president, they're saying they'll primary you. You'll never get elected again, even if it's not what your constituents want. And here it's explained on Face the Nation. Rep. Michael McCall, a Republican from Texas, says that House Republicans know the peril they're in if they vote no, and he's basically saying they're all bitches.
I think everyone in the House, they know the peril they're in if they vote no on this thing.
What do you mean the peril they're in?
I think, first of all, it's good for the nation.
So he's adamant that the bill is good for the nation. Again, I don't know why. Maybe the nation of rich people, but I don't understand. The bill just takes away. It's going to be taking away. It's going to be taking away health care benefits for literally like children and poor people and old people. I mean, it's worse than anything a terrorist organization could do to our country. It really is. You know, this is going to hurt people. This is going to kill people. People will literally not survive this.
Their jobs are at risk.
Not
just from the president, but from the American people. Our base back home will not reelect us to office if we vote no on this.
But is it about reelection or is it about
it's about
policies, right?
I mean, it's great for the country, and I've outlined the three.
So he says, no, the bill's great for the country, but we're afraid to do what's right by our conscience. And remember, the Republican Party is supposed to be a party that wants small government. Do you understand? They want less government. They want less spending, right? They want to get rid of the debt. They're like that dad who wants a really tight budget. They don't want to go into debt. And yet now they're just maxing out the credit cards. Trillions of dollars to the defense spending. Trillions in tax cuts. So again, it goes towards nothing. We get literally nothing out of this other than more debt and then the ultra rich. And by the way, I'm having a hard time meeting these rich people that everyone's so worried about. Here is Zoran Mdani, who won the primary for the mayor of New York, the Democratic primary. And he is described as a Democratic socialist, and he explains why he doesn't think we should have any billionaires.
A self-described Democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Well, let me ask you about what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has had to say. He's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed.
So, I mean, I've yet to meet somebody. Here's what's interesting, right? This bold idea that billionaires shouldn't exist. It's an idea that if you make over 999 million, once you get to that 1 billion number, then you get taxed 100%. Now, most people, you can ideologically be against billionaires and go like, look, I don't think we should be taxing billionaires at 100%. But I think a lot of people do what's called the marginal tax, which is you only get taxed at 33% until you get to maybe making $20 million a year. And then maybe they tax you at 50% from 20 million to 100 million. And so that's to say, if you're making $80 million a year, you can afford to pay a little bit more in taxes than everyone else. And yet somehow, people have a problem with this. And the people that have a problem with this are making $70,000 a year. It's like, you are so far away from this being one of your concerns. Like, do you guys, and I really think one of the issues is it's hard for some people to even fathom how much $1 billion is, right? It's $1,000 million. So you might be set for life having $10 million if you invested right in this and that. So to think that we're talking about like 100 times that level, and some people still say, no. I mean, there's this sort of like subservient idea that we have, kind of like that the master is going to provide for us if we just protect the master, and the master doesn't care about you. And that's what it comes down to. And listen, there are ethical billionaires out there, but I don't think it should be up to the person to decide if they had that much luck, what they should do with that money. I think there should be things and standards set in place that redistribute that a little bit. Like, technology is so good. It is so good, and that whoever's in control of the technology can really make all of the money. And I don't think that necessarily should be allowed. I think it'll run away with the few people that got in early, and then the rest of us are kind of like, well, we're just kind of like the working poor. And in our country, anyhow, not to ramble, but I did. I understand what he's saying, which is, who's really defending the billionaires? So is he going to lose the vote of the 50 or so people that he's, upset about? And you might say, well, so much of the wealth in New York belongs to the ultra rich. And I think, well, isn't that some of the problem that we're talking about? Can't they break off an extra 1% of that in order to fund the programs that make the city better, safer, and more artistic and things like that? Here is the guy who's mayor now, Mayor Adams. And here's what he has to say as he will be running against Mdani.
Specifically, has Mdani said that you think is anti-Semitic?
Pro-Hamas. Hamas is a dangerous terrorist organization that should be destroyed.
Now, hold on a second. He was asked, what has Mdani said that makes him anti-Semitic? And the mayor says he's pro-Hamas. This was like, I was being accused of being pro-Hamas, and they just randomly throw these accusations at people. And then when you ask for any evidence whatsoever, there never is any. These tricks don't work anymore. That's why Mdani won the primary in the largest Jewish city in the world outside of Tel Aviv, right? New York is. So he won the primary, and I didn't vote. I don't vote in New York City, but he won it in one of the biggest political sort of surprises in the history of the country against a political beast, Cuomo. He won it by a lot. So clearly this isn't going to work, right?
When you embrace the philosophies of Hamas, not only what they do to their own people, but what they did in Gaza to lift them up and praise them, I think that's a clear indicator that something is wrong with that. But he has to
when did he praise Hamas? I don't recall him ever praising Hamas.
Finally, a reporter asking a follow-up question to provide some receipts to awful accusations.
There's several videos, even during his days of being a rap artist, of praising Hamas and other terrorist groups. And so a little research, you'll be able to find it. But I'm not.
I just think it would be fair if you're going to accuse someone of that you would actually be able to cite it in the moment. He's doing what everyone's dad does. Do your research. Google it.
Competing against him only for what he's done and praising Hamas.
You would think if he is a pro-terror or if this mayoral candidate was pro-terror organization, you'd think it'd be a little bit easier to beat him. Wild stuff. All right, let's end with this video. I meant to cover this earlier. This is the former lawyer of the Canadian man who died in ICE. He wants answers. Have a listen.
Was shocked. Obviously, Johnny's case wasn't still active or anything like that. We had resolved it some time ago, but obviously kind of rattled me to have something like that happen so close to somebody that I had helped and, knew through my representation. I called his father very shortly after getting off the call with the reporter from Miami. Angelo is his dad, and he's 80 years old. His father was distraught, in total disbelief, total shock. I can only imagine if you're, 80 years old and you make it that far and you've got a son who's 49 that doesn't. Unimaginable last month.
Yeah, imaginable that you can just be swept up and just die when you're in detention. Like, is he not getting access to health care that he needs? Very, very, a lot of questions asked. And by the way, this new big, beautiful bill apparently will be funding ICE to the tune where they'll receive more money than the Marines. That's how much money they are going to be receiving in this new big, beautiful bill that they want to get signed this week. It could be signed by the time you listen to this podcast. It's going to take away. We'll be talking about it for a while, but it's going to be taking away so many jobs, infrastructure jobs based on the former bill that Biden had passed, that was going to provide new energy contracts. And again, just wiped away. And why? I guess because Trump wanted to own the libs. It's an absolute insane self-inflicted wound. And this idea that the constituents are going to be okay with it, I think time will tell that one. All right, that's it for me. We'll be back in the morning as we continue to dive into all of the wild stories in the pop culture, entertainment, and political news world. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to double check that you're subscribed. Share us with your friends. Give us a nice review on Apple or Spotify. We appreciate all the support. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.